The inconvenient truth about being an employee is that you are disposable, and no matter how much the company pays you or how much value you deliver, they will always be looking to save a dollar. Hey, this is Justin Hitt with Inside Strategic Relations. When we talk about building business relationships and we talk about leverage points when it comes to getting an advantage in a situation, we are not talking about the recent Applebee's Neighborhood Grill letter that was leaked. Let's give you a little background. There was a letter that stated most of our employees have and most of our employee base and potential employee base live paycheck to paycheck. An increase in gas cuts into their disposable income. Basically, this letter leaked by an Applebee's executive describes how they can lower wages now that inflation is rising and their employees are more desperate to get a regular paycheck. Now, this doesn't just happen in a chain restaurant. It happens in large corporations when the job market dries up. When the job market dries up and people absolutely must have a job, they will work harder, they will work longer, and they will work for less wages because of fear and other exterior pressures. Now, listen carefully. When inflation goes up, individuals become desperate. You have to resist using these strategies to take advantage of individuals by hiring them at less than what they're worth. Here's why. If you hire somebody for less than what they're worth, they will eventually either go sour and deliver poor work, actually deliver the work that is worth what they're being paid, or they will find a new opportunity where they are hired at what they're worth. What does this do to your business? Well, first off, it costs you in hiring and recruiting needs. Now, again, if you're hiring through recruiters who get a percentage of the salary, they'll find you more people because, again, they have an economic incentive to find people, even though you're cashing in on this desperation. Headhunters will find people no matter how many times you turn those people over. It's not in their best interest to get you people that stay. Second, individuals who have high value will be proactive about getting that second position, about finding that new opportunity, about improving their education, about finding other ways to increase their income, even if right now you're not able to pay them what they're worth. These are the people you want to keep, by the way. Those people who see problems and solve problems. You don't want the people that whine and complain and can't manage their checkbook. You don't want the people who struggle to make a living and constantly live paycheck to paycheck. Now, I know a lot of you folks are saying, Justin, this is about high-income professionals. High-income professionals don't have these problems. Well, please do not delude yourself. The majority of individuals making $100,000 or more, even making $250,000 a year, are still living paycheck to paycheck because the underlying behavior with yourself, how you see yourself, isn't corrected. Plus, society is pushing upon you that you need all these new things, and ultimately you're spending far beyond your means, no matter what your means are. Another factor is that when a large company needs to reduce costs, who do you think they get the fastest return on investment when it comes to reducing staff count and costs? Well, it's the individuals at the highest income brackets. If you haven't already noticed that, because your team has 3 people when it should have 6 people, and you're getting extra hours and extra work, and there's a lot of kumbaya and come into the office late, and oh, by the way, we're going to force everybody into the office. That way we can watch you and make sure you're working. And then you, of course, have a higher commitment to be there because there's a face-to-face pressure, and you won't be able in your lunchtime to look for a new job. Listen, folks. Using business relationships to profit is not about taking advantage of individuals. The individuals who don't know you're taking advantage of them will stay, but have low skills and low mental capacity in order to deliver results. Even if you take a software engineer and you corner them and you pay them less than they're worth and you work them so hard they can't find another opportunity, and then you drive and ride them and you ask and demand, eventually they're going to put something in your software that you don't need. Even by accident, their quality of work will decline. All knowledge workers have a threshold where their quality of work declines. Now, cognitive bias causes them to continue to work, but you get poor quality work. If you have a culture that is working late, they tell everybody, oh, we want you to take your vacation. We don't want you to work late. Self-care is important. they just tell you that in the middle management. Human resources doesn't give a damn because they have systems in place that once you quit, they're going to replace you. Here's the challenge though. If you're stressed in a position, if you're overwhelmed in a position, even if you make a lot of money, you're going to increase your spending. There's going to be an emotional spending. There's going to be poor decisions in your household. Could impact relationships. It could impact your interaction with your children. There's a lot of things that can go wrong. So if you're hiring people, it's very important, even though these opportunities exist. For example, high levels of inflation, individuals are going to get desperate to be able to pay their bills, so they're going to stay longer. Okay. But again, the people who have to stay longer are the people that don't have high value in the marketplace. Who do you want to work for you? Somebody who's desperate and has to stay with you because they're trapped, almost like a slave? Or somebody who has high mobility, the ability to solve problems, the ability to, with mental capacity to spare, get you the results that you're looking for in business. Now, Applebee's in this case would be better off finding ways to provide better value in the marketplace so that they can increase their customer base, so they can have more turnover on tables, because this letter, I'm going to provide a link to it, doesn't make any sense. If their employees are typically working paycheck to paycheck and gas prices are cutting into their disposable income, wouldn't that also be a problem with their customers? And if you have fewer customers and desperate employees, it's just ripe for abuse. Now, here's the thing. All companies want to lower wages. The truth about employment is that your objective as an employee is to earn as much as possible while doing as least amount of work possible. And the company's responsibility, as far as especially a large company, is to get as much work out of you for as little dollars as possible. That's how it works. If you transition from a high-paid employee to a consultant, it's this, you'll see for sure. Because again, as a consultant, your job is to earn as much as possible while doing the least amount of physical work possible. And this is just the way it is. This is the truth. And when you understand this truth, you'll realize that there's a conflict in that relationship that can only be resolved through the negotiation of fair and valuable labor. This is what I mean by that. If you can deliver more value to the marketplace, you can charge more for that value. Perhaps it's a multiple of the value you deliver. If someone else comes in the market, delivers the same value for a lower price, and you know that you're offering a fair deal, you'll often see the other person might take market share today, but over time, they can't sustain the methodology. It is a horrible hiring methodology to hire and churn low-waged, I don't want to say they have, these are entry-level positions, low-wage positions for people who are desperate to work. People who need more hours for a second job in order to put food on the table for their children are not long-term employees. They're not the kind of employee that saves you money in recruiting and saves you money on turnover because they are desperate. They're going to leave. They're going to burn out. They're going to provide poor service to your customers. Now, in a high income position, whether you're a lawyer, an accountant, engaged in an organization, whether you're a business analyst or a software developer, if you're in a situation where you're getting paid much less than you believe you deserve. Now, it doesn't matter anything about reality here. If they're paying you $70 an hour and you see other software developers getting paid $100 an hour, you're going to wonder why there's such a gap between what you get and what you see other people get, and you're either going to reduce productivity or you're going to get desperate, and so they're going to carrot and stick you for a little while, and you're going to get screwed and not going to get that promotion. You'll have unrealistic expectations, and then ultimately, if you're stuck in that position, you're the worst value employee ever. I know this from experience. I know this from working with hundreds of clients, that if you're stuck in a position, until you get unstuck and overcome that obstacle, you're a liability, especially in organizations that have information and resources such as cybersecurity, where if a mistake can be very costly. So if you're on the employer side, try to provide fair value. Try to help your employees understand that you're providing fair value. And if you economically cannot pay them market wages, figure out a way, whether it's through the culture, whether it's through additional benefits, or through other means to make up the difference in the mind of the employee. So it doesn't have to be generous, but it has to be a reasonable expectation in the mind of the employee. If you're a high income professional, understand that you must constantly be looking for that next opportunity. You might be getting a W-2, you might be an employee, but really you're a business. If you're making $250,000 a year, by the way, you're making more money than 80% of small businesses. You literally are making more money than a small business. Why not act like a small business and level up? Why not, if you want more money, function like a business, constantly be seeking new customers, find ways to improve your performance, find ways to organize, optimize, automate processes so that you can accomplish more each day. And then at the point that your employer decides that they need to pay you less, perhaps the example that I give quite often, pretty much every high income professional, from the day you're hired, after the 5-year anniversary, you have half the buying power that you started with. You can take your offer letter, run it through an inflation calculator, and you will see you are doing more work today for less money. So what do we do about this? Again, I talk about clarity in your goals and objectives. I talk about constantly positioning yourself as an expert inside and outside your company. I share with you strategies to find new, and I call them clients because really that's what it is. You only have one client now. 1 is none, 2 is 1. You have to have 3 or more income sources to your current situation. Now, if you're an employee, those income sources could be with investments. It could be real estate on the side. It could be a side hustle on the side. It could be royalties from books. There is literally hundreds of ways to hedge yourself against inflation, against employers having completely conflicting and different objectives, and really moving forward as an independent professional, as someone who is financially secure and able to be that high value employer that gets the first cream of the crop opportunities. Now, again, if somebody is desperate, living paycheck to paycheck, they will make bad decisions. They have no room to think about it. They have to make a decision now. You don't want those people on your team. And the best way to do it is to pay generously in the minds of your employee. Now, if you're an employee, understand what your cost of living is, what your real wages are, what your costs are, and function like a business so that you can make good decisions about whether you should stay with this company or move along to another company. Now, if you're truly a producer and you go to move to another organization, that company will try to keep you because every company has some headroom. Again, they want to lower costs, but they have headroom to keep producers. You need to be generating multiples of what they're paying you. But ultimately, the decision will be yours whether you're going to suffer as a slave or you're going to have the freedom of choice and opportunity by living far below your means and ultimately connecting with new opportunities down the line. So your business relationships are hiring managers in other organizations, peers in other organizations, as well as the organization you're in, publishing work, even doing academic journals if necessary, depending on what type of work you're in. But position papers, case studies, I know a lot of you don't want to write, but again, you can do videos, you can do and have somebody transcribe it. You can do presentations and have them recorded and share those presentations. You can do training sessions to train entry-level folks or new folks in your group to really increase the capacity. Be the leader that you want to be. Again, this Applebee's letter is disgusting, but it's true. Companies look for every possible opportunity to lower their costs. That is the company's responsibility. Now, your responsibility is to look out for your interest, and you do that through strategic business relationships. You find ways to increase your value. You find ways to have additional income streams. You find ways to hedge your position by being known as an expert in your marketplace. I'm Justin Hitt with Inside Strategic Relations, where we help high-income professionals transform business relationships into profits guaranteed. You can ask your questions at www.insidestrategicrelations.com. Go to the contact page, simply ask your questions. We'll be happy to answer them. Thanks for listening to this podcast. Thanks for being a part of what we have. I am always excited to hear about your success stories. And if you've seen this type of thing happen, note it in the comments below. I would love to hear your situation and how you handled it. And if you're struggling right now, paycheck to paycheck, understand this inflation is not going to stop. So listen carefully and take the actions you need. By the way, we do have a report on how to profit from inflation. You can contact my offices at www.insidestrategicrelations.com to get answers to questions about inflation as well. Thanks for listening.